Hey guys, my name is Deb Marnie and I'm from Aussie Maille, and this is our chainmail tutorial channel. Hey guys, a big hi, hello, welcome, how are you? Thanks for popping in and seeing me today. It is great to catch up with you again. So today I've got another weave tutorial for you. This one is called Vipera Berus Full Persian 6in1. And the weaves we're going to be doing, I'm sure, are in the name. All right, guys, let's jump into it. Okay, guys, I've got some sample pieces of the Vipera Berus Full Persian 6in1 weave made up for you. So I'll run through these with you shortly. The sizes will also be coming up here on the side of the screen. You will also find them underneath this video in the description tab, along with links to further information, links to our website, the creator of the weave, etc. All the good information you can find down there. But to go through these with you now, so our big, large, chunky version here, our center rings down here that you can see forming this center pattern, or the piece of a full Persian 6in1, those ones are 14 gauge AWG, that's 1.6 millimeter diameter wire with a ring ID of 10 millimeters. And then the smaller rings that are here running down the side, those rings are 16 gauge AWG, 1.2 millimeter diameter wire with a ring ID of 5.25 millimeters. Our next size, the larger rings it uses again are 16 gauge AWG, 1.2 millimeter diameter wire, and these rings in here are 7.5 millimeter ID. The smaller rings running down the side of the weave, they are 18 gauge AWG, 1 millimeter diameter wire with a ring ID of 4.25 millimeters. And finally, our smaller version here, which I think looks just stunning as a bracelet. The larger rings running down here that you can see, they are 18 gauge AWG, 1 millimeter diameter wire with a ring ID of 6 millimeters, and the smaller side rings are 20 gauge AWG, that is 0.8 millimeter diameter wire. The ring ID here is 3.5 millimeters. Today, though, I will be showing you how to use this with slightly different ring sizes. So the reason why I don't recommend these, as you can see, these are quite a lot stiffer. There's not a lot of bending and they are difficult to use, but just to show you the weave today, I'll be using, for these rings here, the colored rings, they are our 14 gauge AWG 1.6 millimeter diameter wire rings in 3/8 of an inch, or 9.53 millimeters. So to start this weave, we want to create a section of full Persian 6in1 weave. Now, if you haven't done this weave before, I'll link some tutorials up here at the top for you, but I will run through it quickly for you now. So we want to start by opening up one of our large rings, in this case the 3/8 of an inch, popping 2 of them onto that ring, closing it up and feeding another ring through those 2 rings. So we've got a short section of 2-2 chain. Now I'm just going to go ahead and close these rings up because I just popped them on straight out of the bag. Okay, and once we have our short section of 2-2 chain, I'm going to pop a twist tie through one pair of the rings. If you don't have a twist tie, you can try something like a paper clip, something like that. Anything that will give you a little bit of a handle to hold on to while we start this weave. Next, I'm going to flip one of our second pair of rings either side of my weave, much like we would if we were starting Byzantine. And I'm going to bring those all the way up and open up that top pair of rings to expose the ones that I flipped back. Okay, taking up a new opened ring, I'm going to come in and pick up those 2 rings that I exposed there, the 2 rings that I flipped back. I'm going to close that ring up and I'm going to place a second ring through the same path. So right now you're creating what is effectively a small section of the Byzantine weave. That's just the starting chain, okay? So you've got a piece that looks like this at the moment. We've got our little half Byzantine section here and our 2 center rings. My next ring, I'm going to want to put through our center rings here, and at the same time, they want to go through these 2 rings here that you can see that form this sort of V shape here. Okay, so I want to go through both these rings here and these rings here. So it doesn't really matter how you go about doing this. I usually put my rings through my 2 center rings there in the middle. I then fold my working ring down and through the previous center rings, the rings that are forming that V, and I close it up. Alternatively, if you don't like doing it that way, we need to flip our work over to the other side to place the second ring. Another way of doing this is you go through your V's first, then you bring your working ring around and go through the center rings at the top. As I said, it doesn't matter which way you construct this weave. There's no real right or wrong way, as long as you get there in the end. Whichever weave works best for you, whichever way you understand and can complete the weave, that is the correct way. So we want to keep creating our full Persian piece. So once we've got those 2 sections of full Persian in place, we want to come back to the end of our weave and we want to separate our 2 rings out here on the top to expose these 2 previous rings. That's where we want to place our new weave, okay? So we want to slip in there and pick up those second set of rings in our weave. So we don't want to pick up the top, we want to pick up the second end pair of rings. We do that by going in between our top pair. So again, we've got 2 of those rings in place. And your work should look like this. Okay, so again, depending on your preference, as I said, I like to place my ring up here through my 2 previously placed center rings, bring my working ring down and go through the previous center rings that are already in weave. Go through both of those and close. So your work should look like this. Flip your work over to the other side and place another ring through the same rings on the other side of your work. Once you've got those 3 units in place, we want to return back to the end of our work. Separate those top rings. We want to pick up the next set of rings that are in there, scoop them up, close that ring up, and repeat with the second ring. And then place your next ring, either by going through those center rings there in the middle, bringing it down and feeding it through the previous rings. If you don't like that method, you can go through the previous rings first and up through the most recent set of center rings. Okay guys, we'll keep creating your centerpiece. You'll need it to be approximately the length that your piece will be. It will scoot up a little bit, but it is okay. We can add to it if it's not quite right. So you go ahead and continue adding or creating your full Persian 6-in-1 weave section. And when you've reached the length that you're happy with, meet me back here and I will show you how to do the next step. Okay, so I've got my starting piece of full Persian 6-in-1 and I want to position this weave now so that our center rings are forming this V. So if you see, if we twist it this way, we've got sort of an arrow with our center rings. This way, our center rings are forming a V, and that is the way that we want to position our weave when we start our next step. So taking up our opened small ring, we want to feed this around the first and the second center rings here on our right. So I'm just going to go through both those rings, nothing else, just those two center rings. Close that ring up. So your work should look like this. Then taking up another a small ring, go down to the next one in our weave and go through both a new and the previous center ring. And we do that all the way down our work, feeding our small ring through a new ring and a previous center ring. New ring, previous ring. New ring, previous ring. Okay. So once you've placed those center rings, or those small rings on your center rings, we go back to the beginning of our weave and taking up another opened small ring. This time we want to go down through the top of our small ring here, down through this first center ring on the other side, up through this center ring here, and up through the next small ring. So what this looks like is down through the small ring, down through the center ring, turn our work, come up through the second center ring, come up through the second small ring, and close your working ring. Okay, so you can see that that new ring has gone through 4 rings in total, 2 small rings and the 2 large rings immediately underneath them. So to continue working down our piece, we take up another small ring. We come down through the top of this second ring, down through our second large ring that lies immediately underneath it, turn our work, come up through the next large ring in our weave, come up through the small ring that directly lies above it. Close your work, close your ring. So you just keep doing that down the side. I'll show you again. Down through our previous small ring, down through the previous large ring, the ones that we have already worked into, up through a new large ring, up through a new small ring. Close our working ring up. Down through our previously worked small ring, down through our previously worked large ring, up through a new large ring, up through a new small ring. And you just keep doing that until you reach the end of your piece. So you can see here at the end, I don't come up through a final small ring, but that's okay. I've still gone through 3 rings here. That's enough to hold it in place. So this is what our first side looks like. What we want to do is now go over to the other side of our work, over here. So this is where we placed our first ring on our center side with the center rings forming the V. We want to turn it around to the other side where our center rings are forming the V. And we want to do the same thing over there that we did the first time. So place a small ring around just those 2 center rings. And close it up and work our way down our weave. Go to the new center ring, go through it, go through the previous center ring or the previous large ring. Close it up. So if you want to work all the way down your weave, placing your new lot of center rings, go ahead, pause me and meet me back here when you're done, and we will do the next step together. Okay, so once you've got those new set of center rings in place, we want to do just what we did before. Go back to the beginning of our chain, go down through our small ring, our first small ring, go down through the first large ring that lies immediately underneath it, swinging our work around, come up through the next large ring in the weave and up through the next small ring, so that your working ring goes through a total of 4 rings. That is 2 small rings, 2 large rings. And we just work our way down our work. We go through the previous small ring where we placed a ring through our previously placed large ring, and then swing it around and up through our second large ring and our second small ring. Okay, and you just do that all the way down your work. So go to the ring that we previously placed a ring through, go through both it and the large ring directly underneath it, swing our work around, come up through a new large, a new small. Close your working ring. As I said, these ring size, these 3/8 in the anodized rings are a little tight. They do work, but you could see from the piece that I showed you previously, it is a very stiff weave. Creates more of a bangle than it does a bracelet. Okay. Close that ring up. And place my final. Okay, so this is what a completed piece of the weave looks like. So what it does when you put these little rings down the side, it squashes your full Persian. So your full Persian normally looks like this, and this is the view we normally see with our center rings, either with the V, sort of with the upside down V, or this side shows the V around the correct way. This is the view that you see with full Persian. When we place those rings on the side, what it does is it squashes our full Persian piece, and it brings into focus this interaction here between our rings that we don't necessarily see with a full Persian. And you can see it quite well with the silver rings highlighting that. So it gives our full Persian a very different look, and I quite like it. It is a very chunky weave. I think though in the smaller gauges, for me, it becomes a very wearable piece. The other ones I feel are a little bit chunky for my liking, but I know there are people out there that really do enjoy large chunky weaves, and this would be a perfect weave for you. But that's it, guys. That's how you create the Vipera Berus Full Persian 6-in-1 weave. All right, my lovelies, well, that is it. That is the video tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed it and it was of use to you. If you did find the video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up here on YouTube. Share the video if you like. If you're not a subscriber, it would be awesome if you would consider doing that for us. It really does help the channel out quite a lot. And for those that have already subscribed, thank you. I truly, truly appreciate what you do for us. Also, guys, while you're here, don't forget to give our shop link up here in the corner a little bit of love and affection. That's where we sell the bits and bobs and what's-a-jigs you're going to need to whip up this weave and many others. All right, guys, once again, thank you so much for spending some time with me. It was great to catch up with you. Keep safe, keep well, and we'll see each other again in the very near future. Bye. Mwah.